Well, with the first week of the NFL playoffs out of the way, I noticed a few tendencies in some of the teams who are moving on and some of the teams that are going home. We'll talk about that. And we'll also break down the position needs from 10 to 1. The top 10 needs that I believe the New York Jets are going to have going into this offseason. It's Wednesday night, and we are live. Call your friends, wake your neighbors. Wednesday Night Live is on the air. I am Walk2K99. Thank you, as always, for taking the time to join me to watch the New York Sports WickerMedia channel. Got to say a quick thank you to all my subscribers. A very special hello to you guys. 825 and climbing. I am so thrilled about it. It took a while, and we're stuck in that 720 range for a while, but man, we've seen a spike as of late. I am so happy about it. And we are here for the Wednesday night show. So we're going to get into we're starting to change the format a little bit now that the regular season is kind of, is over now. And now we're on to the playoffs. And we start to look ahead to the New York Jets offseason. And we'll get into a couple of different things as the weeks go on. But before we get into the football, let's talk about what's on my mind right now with a little bit of what we like to call 3 and out. So, the New York Knicks just wrapped up a victory over the Houston Rockets, 109-94, led by as many as 20 points in this game. Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart both in the lineup tonight. It was unsure if they were going to play. They were game time decisions, but they did play. Julius Randle, great game, 31 points. Jalen Brunson drops 30. Josh Hart, Josh Hart, I've kind of latched onto is maybe my favorite Knick along with Brunson. I just love the energy that he plays with. To me, Josh Hart's a little bit of a throwback to the 90s Knicks with that aggressive style of play. I see a little bit of John Starks, but with more length and maybe a little less shooting ability. But I've heard some people calling for Josh Hart to get fewer minutes as of late. But I thought he had a really good game tonight. 10 points and 13 rebounds off the bench. Very good stuff. Knicks now at 24 and 17 on the year, really in that second tier in the Eastern Conference, right there with Cleveland, with Indiana, and that caliber of team, Miami as well. So, a lot of people complaining that the Knicks need to get one more player to get to that championship level, and that may very well be true. But considering where this franchise was for all those years, for 20 years of basic irrelevance, it's a good place that they're in right now. All right, before I move on to my next subject, I want to say hello to a couple people here in the chat. First, I want to say hello to Matthias Simon saying, no Dakota. Well, Dakota's got to be out there somewhere. I'm sure we could find him. The great Jets mess. The show would feel incomplete without your early post, my friend. I'm glad you're here. Hank G, hello to you as well. And we've also got the great Harlan Abraham. Yes, don't forget to like that button, to hit that like button. It spreads the word about the channel and the broadcast. I can do a little bit myself, but it takes, if I could get corny like the NFL, it takes all of us. Not just me. It takes all of us together to do this. Harlan Abraham, they're still, doing the other show. They're doing a mock draft tonight. Oh, very cool. I'm sure they've got the 5th round all ready to go. Yeah, I know that I don't know if Nick mentioned on the show, but he got a new job recently, which I'm very happy for him about. So that particular show may be changing its time a little bit. I don't take any of that. Personally, they do what they've got to do. But as of right now, I don't plan on changing anything. I plan on sticking with my 10 p.m. time slot. Don't want to keep moving things around. But yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, I look forward to Nick and maybe Jeremy stopping by a little bit later. But yeah, Nick's been looking for a job for a while. I know it's involved in basketball in the town where he lives, so I know he's very happy about it. So the kind of the other downer about it is I know he's probably going to be working Friday nights, so we may not be doing the Friday show as much. We may do it Saturday. That might be a little bit easier for him to do because I know he's working Friday night and Saturday morning. Hope I'm not saying anything out of tune here, but I know we want to keep going with that top. Like we did the top 10 Jets last week, did all the voting. You know, myself, Dom, Buffalo Jets fan, Matt O'Leary, Gunny, all kinds of guys. We just had a great time doing that, and we wanted to keep it going, right? But we might have to move it over to Saturday. And actually, I had to point that out to Nick because Nick was so worried about Wednesday. I said, well, this is going to affect the Friday thing too. And he's like, yeah, you're right. I didn't even think of that one. So some things may be changing a little bit, but I still plan on being here at 10 o'clock as always. Yeah, CP, New York Sports Network, CP, good to see you. Let's go, Knicks. That's it, man. That is it. Man, I am loving my new Knicks hoodie, too. Man, got a nice midweight blue Knicks hoodie that I've worn on the show a couple times. Man, feels so good. Feels so good. Yeah, they're going from, I guess, they start at 9 p.m. now. So, hey, it is what it is. Well, let's get into a little bit of NHL. I got some Rangers, Islanders, and Devils to talk about because – quite frankly, all three of these teams deserve to be talked about. Rangers coming off a 5-2 win over the red-hot Seattle Kraken Tuesday night at Madison Square Garden. The Kraken had recently won 9 straight. Now they suffer back-to-back losses to Pittsburgh and to the Rangers. Rangers going through a very rough stretch at one point, have now won 2 in a row. They're now 4 points clear of the second-place Philadelphia Flyers. I'll tell you what, beginning of the season, I figured Philly was pegged for 7th or 8th place in the Metro, but they have played well under coach John Tortorella. And I got to say this with Capo Caco. The Rangers right wing, second overall pick, missed about 20 games. A lot of people rag on him, saying he's not living up to that second overall pick. And that may very well be true. But he is a darn good two-way player, and he makes that lineup so much deeper. He is the best player to play right wing alongside Mika Zibanejad and Chris Kreider. So I am very happy to have him back. Adam Fox, he has scored 4 goals in 5 games after going 20 games without one. And you know what? If you watch my videos about the Rangers, if you've been here on the 3 and Out when I've talked about the Rangers, I've been talking about this team's defense. Some people think I've been a little bit over the top about it, and that's cool, but they have been playing better. They were during that losing streak, they were allowing a lot of goals off the rush. They could not defend odd man rushes. And I've said again and again, the teams that get to the Stanley Cup Finals and the teams that win it, they're consistently at the top of the league, near the top of the league in that category. And the Rangers have been the worst over the last month there. But they've been better. Fewer turnovers the last 2 games, less vulnerable to those odd man rushes. There's still issues. The 5-on-5 scoring is not where it needs to be outside of the Artemi Panarin, Vincent Trocheck, Alexei Lafreniere line. Mika Zibanejad, great center, has scored 5 even-strength goals in 42 games. That's not going to cut it, all right? Chris Kreider has scored 8 5-on-5 goals this year, but only 3 in his last 21 games. So, they have to get more 5-on-5 scoring outside of the Trocheck, Panarin, and Lafreniere line. But the Rangers go out west for a 4-game road trip, and it's out to Vegas tomorrow night. Rangers and Golden Knights, the defending Stanley Cup champions. That is going to be a good one. On to the New York Islanders. Took a 4-2 loss to the Winnipeg Jets, the red-hot Winnipeg Jets. Wow, there's actually a Jets team out there that's like at the top of their league. Who would have believed it was in Winnipeg? But the Islanders take a 4-2 loss. They have dropped 5 of 6 of their last 9 games. They've won only one of those games in regulation. Got a -20 goal differential for the season. Just not playing well. When the Islanders made their runs to back-to-back Eastern Conference Finals, the hallmark of the team was the defense. Okay? Against Winnipeg, now forget it. 44 shots allowed to the Jets. The defense is just not the same. Right now, they are tied in 4th in the Metropolitan Division with Pittsburgh and Washington. They head out to the United Center, the Madhouse on Madison, Friday night, a place I've been to many times for hockey games. Fantastic place to go watch a hockey game. And then we got to get to the New Jersey Devils. And boy, Vervain, if you're here, raise your hand, man, because you know I got something to say about the Devils. But they take a rough loss at home tonight, 3-2 to the Montreal Canadiens. And this is a rough one. New Jersey actually spotted Montreal a 2-goal lead going into the third period. It was 2-0. Devils scored power play goals less than a minute apart to tie the score. And then at 15:29 of the third period, less than 5 minutes to go, Cole Caulfield scores for the Canadiens on the rebound, and the Devils are not able to tie the score. And New Jersey at this point, they have dropped 4 or 5 games. They are seventh. They are seventh place in the Metropolitan Division, but only 1 point out of fourth place. They head to Columbus on Friday. You know, I felt the Devils would take a little bit of a step back this year. I didn't know it would be this drastic a step back, but, you know, they still have to get their goaltending figured out, and the defense is just not what it was. Of course, not having Jack Hughes for an extended period of time has hurt them as well. So it's like everything that went right for them last year is going wrong for them this year. All right, well, let's get out of the 3 and out. And now it's time to talk a little New York Jets football. So let's get into the main content. And I think we need our little transition song. So let's play it right now. That's what I'm talking about right there. Yeah, volume was a little bit lower than I had planned, but yeah, that's okay. So a couple things in the news that we've seen. First of all, Jets safety coach Mark-Han Manuel is interviewing with Jacksonville for their defensive coordinator position. That interview will take place tomorrow. He would be a very well-deserved defensive coordinator. To me, that was probably the coach who had the most likely chance of getting a job somewhere else. Is very, very well thought of. And, if you lose a coach like that, you just tip your hat, but realize, it's a cog in the wheel. This defense is bigger than one position or one coach. They have a whole lot of talent. They got a lot of very good coaches. And this is just part of what happens. So, and one of the things with Manuel, he was actually defensive coordinator with the Falcons at one time. And he was also on Doug Peterson's defensive staff in Philadelphia. So Peterson knows him very, very well. So that could help his chances of getting that job. Yeah, Jets mess should have kept Severson. You know what? You couldn't keep everybody, man. Yeah, Damon Severson, the defenseman from the Devils. You lost Severson and you lost Ryan Graves, and that definitely hurt. But you had to sign Heishier. You wanted to keep Thomas Tatar, which I got to be honest, I wasn't thrilled with. You signed Tyler Toffoli. You kept a lot of talent, no question about it. But you did take a hit on defense in order to keep that offensive firepower up. But it's okay to have a little bit less defense if you have a great goaltender. And right now, the Devils they don't have it right now. They just don't have it. So let's see if they wind up making a trade. There have been talks about Calgary maybe acquiring a Jacob Markstrom or somebody like that. I definitely think they would have been in the hunt for Connor Hellebuck with Winnipeg, but the Jets, forget about it. The Jets are absolutely storming through the league right now. And besides, Hellebuck signed a new contract at the beginning of the season. But yeah, I don't think this is calling up Akira Schmidt, and it's not going to solve everything. It's just not going to happen. So yeah, not a whole lot of news this week, which for a change, this is like the first week where it's been kind of quiet. Jeff Ulbrich will be a head coach at the Senior Bowl. Very exciting. So now we know the Jets will be drafting a safety linebacker hybrid with the number 10 overall pick. I think we're all pretty confident that that's going to happen now. But no, it'll be interesting to see what Ulbrich winds up seeing. We all want the Jets to go offense with those picks in the NFL draft. But at some point, there are pieces on the defense that will have to be addressed, and we're going to get into those a little bit more as the night goes on. But what I want to talk about today, this is like the main thing we're going to talk about, what I took from Wild Card Weekend. Yeah, let's move, and let's see. That looks a little bit better. I'll put myself in the background. It's all good. So there were a number of things that I was really thinking about watching these games, very few of them being very exciting games. I mean, my goodness. Just about everybody I know with their picks got maybe 2 right or 3 right. I mean, I'll put it this way. I'm going to pull with 185 people, And of the 185 people, only 2 of them got all 6 games right. If you got all 6 games right, let me know your picks for the divisional round. But the first thing I got to say is enough of Joe Flacco. Nothing but respect for the guy. He played great. He helped Cleveland get to the playoffs. But the part that to me was just a little bit ridiculous was this constant talk that if he went to the Jets, man, the Jets would have been so much better. They would have made the playoffs. The bottom line is this: Joe Flacco had so much time to throw, and without that time to throw, he was never ever going to succeed. All right. Let's put it this way. When he went against Houston, Houston's defense absolutely ran over Cleveland's offensive line, which had been very, very good. All right. Flacco against Houston was pressured on 40.4% of his dropbacks, sacked over 7% of the time, and he averaged nearly 3 seconds from snap to throw. That's getting close to Zach Wilson territory when it comes to snap to throw. Okay, that pressure rate, that 40.4% pressure rate, that is very close to the Jets' 30th ranked pressure rate of 40.6. So, translation, in that playoff game, the Browns blocked about as well as the Jets had all year long. So we saw how Joe Flacco played in that game when he was under that kind of pressure. We saw pick sixes. We saw inaccurate passes. It would have been the same thing. It just would have. I'm not saying he wouldn't have been a better option than Tim Boyle, but no, I don't think the Jets' record would have been much better if Joe Flacco had been signed. All right. The other thing I want to say, speaking of that game, I don't have a single regret about Elijah Moore not being on this team. I still think there's like a very loud minority. And tell me in the chat if you think this is true. That the Jets, imagine if the Jets had kept Elijah Moore, if they could have kept him instead of throwing him in the base, essentially throwing him in the Aaron Rodgers trade. The trade of Moore allowed them to get that extra second round draft pick, as well, that became trade bait. But Moore didn't really do a whole heck of a lot this year. Now, I know he played with multiple quarterbacks, but you did have Deshaun Watson at some point. You had Joe Flacco for a while. PJ Walker, Dorian Thompson, Robinson, whatever. But you still had an offensive line that gave him time. That gave the quarterback time. You had a pretty good running game, and you had an excellent number one wide receiver across from him in Amari Cooper. Well, against the Texans, Elijah Moore caught 2 passes for 12 yards, and he was only targeted twice. Okay, and this was a game where Cleveland was behind for most of it. So they were throwing the ball, quite extensively. And if we're looking at the overall stats for the season, Elijah Moore had 61 catches on 106 targets. Not very good, for 652 yards and 2 touchdowns. So if you break that down per game, that's 3.4 catches per game for 36 yards. And then on the ground, he had 9 carries for 11 yards. He also had 2 fumbles, lost both. So to me, Elijah Moore is starting to look like he's going to be one of those receivers who just may never quite live up to the hype. And it's very surprising because it looked like it was off to a very good start. But yeah, Moore's just going to like the Bermuda Triangle of NFL teams, the Jets, the Browns. Where's he going to go next? The Cardinals? The Panthers? Where's it going to be? But yeah, I mean, do I wish they had Elijah Moore over Alan Lazard? Yeah, sure. I guess I do. But yeah, I think Moore would have lost his patience just like he had in the previous seasons. So yeah, sayonara, all the best. He's Cleveland's problem now. You need multiple receivers. You need multiple playmakers. Look how well the Rams battled Detroit, and it wasn't really because of their defense. Puka Nacua was absolutely unbelievable in that game. Cooper Kupp wasn't targeted quite as much, but Nacua was making catches and making plays that were just amazing to me. Absolutely amazing. And with Houston, you know what? They didn't have Noah Brown, but you have Nico Collins. You have Dalton Schultz. You have guys like Robert Woods, Xavier Hutchinson. There are different receivers on that team. I'm not saying they all need to be great, but they have to have their roles. They have to have, they have to be able to bring something to the table that is unique and, allows them to make plays when the opportunity comes. Like Buffalo, what they have Stephon Diggs, but Gabe Davis, to me, he's never really been that great second receiver. If I had to sort of explain Gabe Davis to somebody, he's like a Donovan Peoples-Jones in Cleveland. He'll make one or two plays a game, but there's a good chance they're going to be a big play. You know what I'm saying? But Gabe Davis, if you have him in fantasy, he's going to drive you crazy because you're going to bench him on the game, and then he's going to have like 2 touchdowns with an 80-yard catch. Then you'll start playing him, and he'll have 1 catch and like 3 drops. He's infuriating. But one thing Buffalo did this year is they got Dalton Kincaid. They have that second receiver. Tight end doesn't make a difference, but he has become a legitimate go-to weapon in that passing game, and that is making Josh Allen's life so much easier, guys. It makes such a difference, and we've seen the Jets don't have that right now. After Garrett Wilson, you have Tyler Conklin, who's fine, but he can't be your second best option in the receiving game. And I'm leaving running backs aside. That's a different category for me. But if Conklin's like your third option, definitely your fourth option, that's great. But they will need another player. Now, if you want to go like a Brock Bowers in the draft, great, knock yourself out. Malik Neighbors, Rome Odunze, whoever it may be, of course you can go the free agent market. There's so many names out there that would be very, very enticing if they hit the market. Higgins, Evans, Pittman, Samuel. The names can go on and on and on. The Devontae Adams trade, that's a whole nother conversation to be had. But yeah, it's definitely one of the most important things that you can have is having that second receiver. And even with Green Bay, they don't exactly have a bunch of household names, but Jaden Reed, he'd started to step up over the year. Christian Watson's had a very good season when he's been healthy as well. I mean, it's hard to name too many playmakers on the Green Bay roster, but they're very, very young and they're starting to come together. Luke Musgrave at tight end, has turned out to be a very good pick for them as well. And another thing that we need, and you keep coming back to this, protection, protection, protection. This goes right back to what we were talking about with Joe Flacco. When he didn't have the time to throw, he flat out did not have a chance. And one of the things I saw this weekend that surprised me the most was how much time Jordan Love had to throw the football against that Dallas defense. A very, what I considered a very dangerous Dallas defense, one that makes big plays, one that takes risks. And they just really were not able to get to Jordan Love most of the time. And that's one reason he was able to carve them up the way that he was. And obviously, we're going to talk about the offensive line a good deal tonight. But yeah, if you don't have the protection from the offensive line, it slows down the whole offense. Not a great defense. You don't have to have the best defense in the world. And the Jets have a very good one, but you got to have an opportunistic D. You need a defense that is going to take advantage of the opportunities they get when they come. Just look at this. Cleveland, Dallas, and Pittsburgh all lost playoff games this week, and they were all top 6 in DVOA when it comes to defense. So these are the types of things that you have to really care about with the defense. When the quarterback throws an errant pass and the defender has, a chance to get his hands on the ball, does he hold on to it? The Jets turned the other team over, I think, 25 or 26 times this year, and that's really good. But you know what? We could think about it, Jet fans. We could think about a lot of times when the Jets let an interception go off their hands, whether it was Quincy Williams, whether it was C.J. Mosley. The linebackers, I think, were very, very guilty of this. So that's a big deal. When you force a fumble, do you actually land on it? Do you not take the stupid penalties that extend drives for the other teams? And here's the thing. This comes back to Bryce Huff a little bit for me. I love Bryce Huff. I've been a Bryce Huff fan pretty much since his first season here. But if you have to lose him to make a major upgrade to the offensive line or wide receiver, they say defense wins championships. It helps. A defense absolutely is necessary to win. But nowadays, it really feels like you need the offense. Sometimes it actually does come down to who has the ball last. And then can you make the big play when the opportunity is there? We've seen the Jets do it. Look at the Denver game. Look at the Philadelphia game. Just perfect examples of the Jets defense making big time plays to close that game out. So if you have to lose one of your defensive players to make a bigger upgrade on offense, then that, as much as it might hurt in the moment, it might be what you have to do. And then it comes down to the coach. And this is the big thing. Does the coach get players to play for him? Now, I know there's with Jets Nation, it can be very divided with Robert Saleh. You can make some arguments for him. You can make arguments against him, to be sure. But here's the thing. Nick Sirianni and Mike McCarthy did not have their players ready to play. And with Philadelphia, Sirianni didn't have them ready to play basically for the last 2 months. And now Mike McCarthy, it was just confirmed tonight, he will be back as head coach of the Dallas Cowboys next season. So all the speculation about Bill Belichick going down there, that talk has all been canned. All right, because McCarthy's a very good regular season coach, but he's had some bad moments in the playoffs. And, people were all over Kevin Stefanski, how great a head coach he was, that he was going to be a contention for coach of the year. Very, very well, he may. But what happened in Houston? Does the perspective on Kevin Stefanski take a little bit of a hit, considering how badly Houston blew them out? So, you hate to base everything off one game, but yeah, you have to wonder about that. And I would say this with Robert Saleh. I feel like the players, for the most part, do play for him when it matters until they're just beaten into submission and they see the same thing happen again and again and again. I feel like we've seen a very similar script for the last 2 seasons. You have to give Saleh a little bit of credit because after they lost Aaron Rodgers, the team did come back and they beat Buffalo in the opener, and they still played hard for the next, several months after that. They weren't always winning. There were some times when the other team was just downright better. The Dallas game is a clear example of that. I think the Jets in that game were still coming off a real emotional high. It was a short week going down to play a team that, never loses at home, until this weekend. But, they still battled Kansas City incredibly well. They did beat Philadelphia back when that actually meant something. And they were still able to win some close games. But, finally at the end of the season, there were just some times when the team was pretty much outclassed. The other team had way too much talent, like a Miami, and then by the time you get to the Cleveland game, it was about over for them. They just didn't have anything really left to give, and that is disappointing. But I do believe the coach has a way of making his players play for them. So I wonder if if the New York Jets get into the playoffs next season, is the team going to play hard for them, or are we going to see a situation like we did with Philly or like we did with Dallas? So it's going to be a very, very interesting thing to find out, and I hope that we are all able to get the answer to that question one of these days. Yeah. Let's see what's going on in the chat. Harlan Abraham, yes, we'll need a defensive tackle and safety, maybe cornerback, linebacker, and running back for the pipeline. Well, we'll talk about some of those positions. I guess the one thing I would say with cornerback, maybe Jarek Bernard-Converse could be that pipeline cornerback. I do expect Bryce Hall to walk away in free agency. I think somebody else will give him a chance to get a little bit more playing time. But, the Jets could go with the cornerback. I don't see it as a need. I could see it maybe in a situation if they have a late round pick and they have somebody who has a really high RAS, a very good relative athletic score, then you could go that direction. And, I don't think there'd be any problem with that. So, well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you guys my top 10 Jets position needs. All right, now you might agree, you might disagree, and that is all good. Yeah, this is about the only other thing that we really have planned tonight is the top 10 position needs. Usually wait to do the trivia till 11 o'clock, but I want to go through these position needs. And, of course, if you have comments, you have questions, definitely throw them in the chat. All right, so we're going to count these down from 10 to 1. Now, number 10 for me is special teams. So both Greg Zuerlein and Thomas Morstead are free agents. They were both signed to one-year contracts. And you have to wonder, do the Jets stay with both of those players? Clearly Thomas Morstead loves being a Jet. Greg Zuerlein, to this point, has signed 2 one-year contracts with the Jets. Is he at the point now where he is really going to be looking for a longer-term deal? Is he looking for a multi-year contract? Well, there are some pretty thinkers up there. Most of them are a little bit on the older side. You have Nick Folk on the market, you have Matt Prater, guys like that. From what I'm hearing, so those are some of the bigger names. But Mason Crosby's getting a little bit older. Ryan Sukop, not the worst idea in the world. But personally, of course, I would like to see Zerline come back. Yeah, Jets mess. I agree. Pay Greg now. I absolutely would, but I think it's going to take 2 years, which I don't mind because you know what? You never know with a kicker year to year how they're going to do. But the fact that Zerline had, I think, the second best field goal percentage of his career, and he's been in the league for 12 years, that is a surprise I did not see coming. I was not very confident in Zerline coming into this year. But yeah, he was absolutely fantastic. Only 3 missed kicks all year. That is super impressive. All right, so that's number 10 for me. Number 9 is defensive tackle depth. Now, we know Quinn Williams is under contract for the next several years, but after that, the Jets really don't have anything locked in place. I think we saw with the players on the team currently, Michael Clemens, John Franklin Myers, they're best served at defensive end, really, and the coaching staff really wants to play them outside as well. But Quentin Jefferson's going to be a free agent. So will Al Woods, and so will Solomon Thomas. So the Jets have 3 defensive tackles that are hitting the open market. I really liked Quentin Jefferson as a Jet. I thought the signing made sense, and he had a very, very good season. Multiple sacks in the first game against Buffalo. Not the best run defender in the world by any stretch, but still worked out. But a good enough run defender, and really made a difference. I felt with the pass rush. I really liked what I saw from QJ, and I think Solomon Thomas had one of the more. He was another one of the pleasant surprises this season. Very good ability to stop the run. But one of the higher ranked run stopping defensive tackles when he played. But he's the player you don't want to have to play every single down if you can help it, right? So if Thomas is your 4th defensive tackle, by all means, be my guest. But there are going to be quite a few defensive tackles hitting the market. If the Jets want to invest heavy money in that, there's some very good ones. Guys like Grover Stewart from Indianapolis, DJ Reader from Cincinnati, Daquan Jones from Buffalo. Those are some really good names. I doubt Christian Wilkins is going to hit the open market in Miami, but anything can happen. Shelby Harris in Cleveland. Guys, so there are quite a few. Jonathan Hankins in Dallas. Let me not forget him as well. So the defensive tackle market will be pretty solid. Fletcher Cox in Philadelphia as well, although he's getting a little bit older. So the Jets could invest a decent amount of money in a starting defensive tackle to go alongside Quinn Williams if that's something that they wanted to do. But I don't think they're going to bring back Al Woods. I think he's going to walk. They're going to try to find maybe the younger version of Al Woods, maybe with a late round draft pick or maybe in free agency. But I do think the Jets need a defensive tackle whose primary skill trait is stopping the run, because there were just too many times when other teams were getting 4 or 5 yards per carry on the Jets. I don't need to see that again next year. So defensive tackle depth. Now, number 8 is a starting safety. All right. So when we look at the safety situation, you've got Tony Adams, of course, coming back. Jordan Whitehead will be a free agent. Ashton Davis will be a free agent. And, of course, Adrian Amos is history. Chuck Clark is also a free agent. We never got to see him play this year due to his, I believe it was an ACL tear. Right? It really sucks for Chuck Clark, too, because that was a player a lot of us were looking forward to. And I think it was the last play of the optional summer workouts. He tears his ACL on the last play. Really a blow, to be sure. But Adams, I think, has earned his role as a starting free safety. Ashton Davis, I felt, was a lot better this year because he was playing in the box more. So if you wanted to underinvest in a starter, you could bring back Ashton Davis. I thought Davis had a very, very good year. Definitely has grown as a defensive player, but credit to Jeff Olbrich, credit to Marquand Manuel for figuring out how to best utilize Ashton Davis. Because before this year, they had Davis playing like center field, and we've seen him take just horrible tackles to receivers and running backs, and it just was not a good work. It was not a good fit. But putting him in the box where he could tackle and do those types of things, it worked out much better. And I'll say this again about Ashton Davis. When there's an interception to be had, when he gets his hands on the ball, he catches the ball. And I can't say that about every other player on this defense. But with some of the safeties who are available out there, Buffalo's got a couple hitting the market, and guys like Taylor Rapp and Micah Hyde. I do think Chuck Clark will be back, and I think it would be a very, very good idea for Chuck Clark to come back. I think he has something to prove. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. For as much as people rip Joe Douglas's first draft, and understandably so, Ashton Davis might go down as maybe the second or third best player in that draft class. Amazingly enough, I mean, you can make that case. He has really turned himself into a useful NFL player. Also, a very, very big help on special teams. The Jets had some of the best coverage in the league this year, and Ashton Davis played a very, very prominent role in that. So again, this is why. Oh, I'm actually going to X out of this for one moment because I need to go into rant mode for just one moment. I saw a poll up here on Twitter earlier today, and it asked, how would you grade the Jets' 2023 draft class after 1 year? How can you do that? How can you realistically do that? You have to, it's hard enough to judge a draft class after 1 year anyway, but especially this draft class, when clearly what the Jets were doing was building the pipeline. Guys like Zaire Barnes, guys like Jarek Bernard-Converse, guys like Zach Kuntz, even to a lesser extent like an Israel Abanaconda and Will McDonald, these guys are not intended to start right away. It was not the intention. The intent was to develop them this year and have them ready to start in year 2, year 3, or become useful players. That was the idea. Joe Tippmann was the exception in that draft class. Carter Warren, another developmental guy. He was injured all last season. All right. So to me, this draft class is completely incomplete at this point. You have to like what you see in Joe Tippmann. You see, potentially a starting interior offensive lineman for many, many years to come. Most likely at center, possibly at guard. Who knows? But yeah, to me, we saw glimpses from several players. We saw glimpses from Izzy. Carter Warren became a better offensive lineman as the year went on. I know we can't credit Keith Carter for that, right? God forbid Keith Carter gets credit for anything. But Will McDonald had his share of sacks. You saw the explosiveness that this kid is capable of. I remember at least 1 or 2 plays when he was able to get into the backfield right about the exact same millisecond that the quarterback had the ball or the running back got the pitch out, and he was able to make a big stop. So I still see potential in this class, but year 2, I think, is going to tell us a whole lot more about what's going on with this draft class. But it just I thought was ridiculous, just absolutely absurd that you would try to judge this class after. And then in the comments, I saw several people say, Will McDonald's the worst draft pick the Jets have ever had. Another Joe Douglas bust class. Come on, are we hallucinating here, Jets fans? Can we not be better than this? Can we not be better than this, please? All right, I got that out of my system. I feel better now. All right. Backup running back is my number 7 need. Yeah, definitely. Right now, it's an absolute hole. Right now, you have, outside of Breece Hall, you have Izzy, but is he ready to step in as that number 2 running back? And after that, what do you have? You really don't have, much of anything. They signed, what's the guy, Xavier Halliday to a futures contract. I mean, has anybody ever actually watched him run? Now, I will say this. The free agent market is littered with running backs and some very, very good ones. Names like Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs, Tony Pollard, Saquon Barkley, and Austin Eckler, just to name a few. Now, I don't think the Jets should be shopping in that particular department store, but you could still get a very useful running back, whether that be somebody like Gus Edwards from Baltimore, who's very, very good on the goal line. Maybe take a shot on J.K. Dobbins. I don't think that would be the worst idea. Some of these guys are a little bit old. Rashad Penny's another guy who's interesting. Antonio Gibson's kind of fallen out of favor in Washington. Not a terrible idea as well. Josh Kelly with the Chargers. That's another one. Patrick Taylor with Green Bay. He's been getting a little bit. He's an exclusive rights free agent with the Packers. Let's see if they hold on to him, because the Packers also have A.J. Dillon hitting the free agent market as well. So there are some pretty good players. Jarek McKinnon in Kansas City. That's another one who can be pretty intriguing. Cam Akers in Minnesota. You wonder how his knee is doing. I don't know about him. Dante Foreman in Chicago. That's an interesting one to me. Foreman's been used as really part of like a three-headed running back situation. If the Jets could get their hands on Foreman as that number 2 running back, I would be very interested in that. Guys like Ezekiel Elliott, I'll pass on. I have no interest in guys like Ezekiel Elliott or anybody like that. Yeah, I don't think that would quite work out. But the Jets definitely need a second running back. And with the second-year player in the Anaconda, I'm fine with getting a veteran to sort of complement Breece Hall. Number 6, the starting defensive tackle. We kind of already touched on this. The Jets have 3 holes to fill at defensive tackle. I think that they will definitely try to bring back Quentin Jefferson and Solomon Thomas. Let's see if they will come back. But I think in the draft, it would not surprise me if the Jets use maybe maybe one of their, not their first pick, but maybe their third pick or so on a defensive tackle. I could see it happening. Number 5, this is one that we're going to keep talking about, the backup quarterback. So important when you have Aaron Rodgers and nobody else there. I do think, though, that the Jets will draft a quarterback at some point in the middle rounds. I think they need to bring in somebody to develop over the next 2 years or so. I think it would be a very wise decision. Some of the quarterbacks that I'm paying attention to, Ryan Tannehill makes the most sense to me. When you have Todd Downing, you have Keith Carter there, you have that Tennessee connection. It makes a lot of sense. And if Luke Getsy comes over, who used to work with Aaron Rodgers, he was most recently with Tennessee. You got another connection there as well. And some other guys who are going to be free agents, Joe Flacco. Just kidding. Yeah. Other than that, it doesn't really excite me all that much. I mean, are you into Carson Wentz? I mean, Josh Johnson, Easton Stick from the Chargers, Joshua Dobbs. I get a little bit worried about Gardner Minshew myself. I think he's very, very turnover prone. I think he could win a few games for you, but what he was asked to do in Indianapolis after Anthony Richardson went down, it was just too much. I just don't think it worked. Even I got to tell you, I wouldn't even mind Jameis Winston coming in from the Saints. I don't know if he'd come over to the Jets, but I got a little bit of interest in Jameis Winston as a backup quarterback for the Jets. Marcus Mariota, not really. Here's the thing. I want a quarterback who's pretty similar to Aaron Rodgers in terms of the skill set. Because if you bring in, like, say, a Tyrod Taylor into the fold, you're dealing with a completely different offense. And I got zero ability in Nathaniel Hackett's ability to switch, all right, to counter from that and come up with a brand new offense. Nathaniel Hackett tried to, push Zach Wilson into the Aaron Rodgers offense. It was an absolute disaster. It clearly did not work out. And I got a bad feeling Hackett would basically do the exact same thing with a mobile quarterback, putting him in the Aaron Rodgers offense. I just can't see that working. Well, let's say hello to my fellow Virginia Jets fan, the great Johnny Jimenez. Good to see you, my friend. You want to know what jersey this is? It's number 74. It's a Nick Mangold jersey, my friend. Yeah. Yeah, the most recent green jersey that I've purchased is a Nick Mangold jersey. So, I don't know. I got a weird feeling that maybe the uniforms are going to be a little bit different soon. So, I don't know. Yeah, we could talk about uniforms for a while, but one thing I will say, people can knock the current jerseys, and a lot of people do. My biggest issue with the current jerseys is that it didn't say Jets anywhere. The only place you would see the word Jets is on the helmet. And I never like that. To me, like, it could say New York. That's all well and good. But what if, like, on the green jersey it said Jets and on the white jersey it said New York? Or the other way around. But to me, I mean, I like that you have the Jets patch here. It actually says Jets. That's one of the reasons, like the black Aaron Rodgers jersey that I have, the fashion jersey, it says Jets across the chest. And I want it to say Jets as opposed to New York. But that's just me. So, yeah, somewhere in the Mangold jersey tonight. So, backup quarterback is my number 5 need, and I think the Jets need to bring in 2 quarterbacks. Number 4 is a starting wide receiver. Man, we can't talk about this enough. We went through it earlier that you need multiple receivers to have a successful offense. One receiver cannot make it by himself. I know that Nick, for instance, his guy is Curtis Samuel. He wants to bring him over from the Commanders. So he'll be on the market. Mike Evans will be on the market from Tampa Bay, who I would love to see. Johnny, with a question: what did Bryce Huff say? Basically, Bryce Huff said he was speaking free agency 101. I love the guys, but we are here to win games and then hopefully go get paid, and that's what I'm going to try to do. I'm going to do what's in the best interest of me and my family. But I love the guys, and I'd love to be back. Translation for that: if the Jets pay me, I'll be happy to come back. If they pay me the most money, show me the contract, and I'll sign on the dotted line. That's basically what Bryce Huff said. So just about everything that you would expect from a free agent who's about to hit the market for the first time. But once you get past with free agents, once you get past guys like Evans, who else? Michael Pittman, T. Higgins, guys like that, Calvin Ridley. It does fall off a little bit. Then you're talking about guys like I don't know, DJ Chark, who's getting older, Kendrick Bourne, who's coming off a major injury, Cedric Wilson in Miami. Tyler Boyd's a pretty good receiver, but Tyler Boyd to me is a very good number 3 receiver. And to me, that's kind of where Alan Lazard is probably going to be slotted for this team. Not that I want him to be, but he's making the money, and Rodgers is going to be quarterback. I think Lazard's probably going to be like that, that first, backup outside receiver. But, Braxton Berrios is going to hit the market again. McCole Hardman's going to hit the market again. Josh Reynolds in Detroit could be an interesting one. Hollywood Brown in Arizona, that's another one. So there are a few guys, it's here's the way I would describe the wide receiver market is very, very top heavy. Gabe Davis, also a free agent if you're excited about him, but to me, that's McCole Hardman part 2. Darnell Mooney is not a bad idea as well, but we need a legitimate starter. We need to plug somebody, across from Garrett Wilson that we have confidence in. This can't be a player where we hope it works out and maybe Aaron Rodgers can, elevate his game. His game's already got to be up there. Maybe Aaron Rodgers can take it up to another level, but to me, no. You need that starting receiver where you got a hell of a 1-2 punch from the first day. And to me, there's about 5 or 6 guys that could do that. But after that, you're looking at, a backup. Jets mess. I want to see Hardman run back Hicks. Well, I don't know. Xavier Gibson did it pretty well week 1. Then after that, he started having some fumbling issues. But Hardman's done nothing with Kansas City, really. What has McCole Hardman done that's making us miss him? Nothing. McCole Hardman, he pretty much is what he is. He's a gadget guy, nothing more, nothing less. Put it this way: if Patrick Mahomes can't get the best out of you, if he can't turn you into a good receiver, might be time to find another line of work. Sky Moore, not much different. I hate to tell you that, but Rashee Rice looks like he's the real deal. Rashee Rice may be emerging as that number 1 wide receiver that Kansas City sorely needs. You got to wonder. I'm not sure Kansas City's cap situation, but maybe they be the other team in the market along with the Jets looking for a starting wide receiver. Maybe a Higgins or a guy like that or an Evans. Maybe they want to go over there and play with Mahomes. You could definitely see that. So, yeah, I can see the Jets and Chiefs being a major competition to get a starting wide receiver. Now, I will admit I'm cheating a little bit here with the next slide. Spots 1, 2, and 3 are all offensive linemen because the Jets need 3 starters. All right. I feel good with AVT. I feel good with Joe Tippmann. And the reason why I had to go OL is Elijah Vera Tucker is the Swiss Army knife, and we don't know where he's really going to be playing. That is the major question. Where do they see Elijah Vera Tucker? Are the New York Jets going to make the decision right now on where he's going to play, or are they going to wait until free agency and the draft take place, get the best players they can, and then plug Elijah Vera Tucker into whoever the most suitable spot is for him? Now, I've seen some mock-off seasons done where AVT's going to left tackle. I don't like that idea. I think that's just too much of a risk. The 2 things you need absolute confidence in from this offseason are the second wide receiver and the left tackle. You need to know who they are, and you have to be confident in them. If that happens, then yes, I think the Jets are an absolute playoff team and can make a long run next season, even into the playoffs. But you look at kind of the market here, and there's definitely going to be a few good tackles hitting the market. You know, David Bakhtiari from Green Bay will almost certainly be cut. His cap hit is enormous. You know, definitely he's missed 2 of the last 3 seasons. But if he's willing to sign on a team-friendly deal or an incentive-laden contract to come to the Jets and reunite with Aaron Rodgers, I'm all for it. Jonah Williams is another one from Cincinnati, primarily plays right tackle. His numbers are not the best. The best thing I can say about Jonah Williams, he's sort of like what Laken Tomlinson is at guard. He plays, he just doesn't play very effectively, okay? So, yeah, his rates have not been all that good. And, and there's still some other players that'll be out there, too, from New England. Mike Onwenu or Onwenu could play tackle or could play guard. He would be a fantastic piece to poach away from New England. Very, very good player, young as well, just finishing his rookie contract. That's a player I would definitely look to try to sign as well. But then you look at sort of the guard market because, it is possible the Jets would be looking for 2 starting guards. It could come to that. If they do decide to part ways with Laken Tomlinson and save anywhere from $8 to $11 million, depending on when they choose to cut him, because the Jets will save more money if they cut Laken Tomlinson after June 1st. I think it goes from $8 million if they cut him beforehand and $11 million if they cut him afterwards. That's what I understand. But then if they move AVT over to right tackle, now you've got 2 holes at the guard spot, and you got to fill those. And so you look at some of the players who are available at guard. You've got Kevin Zeitler from Baltimore, Connor Williams from Miami. That would be interesting. He usually plays center, but I think he could play guard as well. Dalton Risner in Minnesota. Graham Glasgow from Detroit. That is a player I would be very interested in adding. I'd like to take a piece from Detroit. They've really built up a very good offensive line this year. I think Glasgow would add some real ferocity, add some leadership to that locker room, to that offensive line. I think he would work very, very well. John Feliciano from San Francisco spent some time with Buffalo. I think he'd be a good fit as well. But hey, worst case scenario, you could always bring back Greg Van Roten. And I know we're not going to see that again. But it's going to be very interesting when the Jets basically say, here's where AVT is going to play. Because that decision is going to really affect the rest of this offensive line. So do they make that decision before free agency in the draft, or do they do it afterwards? It's going to be a big decision. Yeah, my personal hope is that they wait a little bit, but because I want them to be able to get the best players that they can, and then they go from there. Let's say a quick hello to Randilla. AVT needs to make it through a season. Show us, yeah. Hey man, there are fluke injuries that happen in the Mile High City, and thankfully the Jets don't have to go to Denver this year. So, but the bottom line is this: he is a fantastic player. The Jets' run game is nowhere near as good without him. And, he has to do whatever he can in order to make it through a season. I agree with you. It's going to be interesting with this injury because, they said it was an Achilles injury, but it was like higher. It was more towards the calf than it was like the foot. So nobody's really said what that is going to look like in terms of his recovery and how long it's going to take. You just hope he's ready to go for next August, for minicamp. Yeah. I don't think that. Yeah, they're going to probably keep it pretty close to the vest. I think it's going to be one of those things when you see AVT out on the field, you'll know where the Jets want to play him. I think it's just going to be that situation. It'd be like like Samini or Costello or Hughes or Rosenblatt or whoever will ask. Robert, are you going to be playing AVT? We saw him at right guard. Is that where you're going to keep him the rest of the season? Yeah. Yes, that's where we're gonna keep him. I love the young man. We're gonna play the young man there, and I think he's gonna be ready to go. Yeah. So if you want to do a little Robert Saleh, you got to put some bass in your voice, and you have to make sure you use the words "young man" when you're describing a player. Love the young man. So yes, that's Robert Saleh 101, right? Oh gosh. Well, I'll tell you what. So those are my top 10 Jets positional needs. Again, just to recap, we've got special teams, kicker, and punter at number 10, defensive tackle, the depth at number 9, starting safety at number 8, backup running back at number 7, starting defensive tackle at number 6, backup quarterback at 5, starting wide receiver at 4, and finally that offensive line 1, 2, and 3, my friends. So that is what I'm feeling as far as the Jets needs go. And I will say this: when kicker and punter are in your top 10, you're not in the worst place in the world. When the safety is in your top 10, that's not a bad place to be as well. So we've said this before: the Jets have as few needs as they have had in many, many years. But they are going to have, but with the limited resources they have to work with, limited draft capital, and they're going to have some cap space. I think they're going to be kind of in the middle in terms of overall cap space. They're going to have to make it really count. Now, I wonder about one thing. Do offensive players want to go play with Aaron Rodgers? You know, Rivka Board at Jets X Factor, she's great. I like what she does. Sometimes I agree with her. Sometimes I don't necessarily agree with her. But she did an article today about a couple of different factors that could inhibit the Jets' ability to sign a free agent. The first one was state taxes. I could see that. I think the number 3, I want to say it was Nathaniel Hackett, but I'm not positive. But number 2 was Aaron Rodgers. Do players want to go play with Aaron Rodgers? Personally, if you have the chance to go play with one of the best of all time, to me, you go do it. If you have a chance to win, I don't think anybody's really going to give a damn about the Pat McAfee show. You know, if he's vaccinated, if he's boosted, what overrated late night talk show host he gets into a feud with. I don't think it's really going to matter, because when you're on the field, all the other stuff just melts away. It doesn't matter anymore. So I think Aaron Rodgers will be an asset when it comes to free agency. Let's just hope that that Joe Douglas does not go after the players that Rodgers has played with. At least not the ones that we saw last year, because we saw that turn into an absolute disaster on every level. Do I need to run down the names? We all know them at this point, or the players that Rodgers wanted, because they definitely did not work out. So Aaron Rodgers is a lot of things, a lot of good things, but general manager is not one of them. All right, guys. Well, I'll tell you what. That hour kind of flew by, didn't it? So hopefully we'll get a little bit of an influx from the other show. Hopefully that's going to be winding down soon, because I think it's going to be time for some trivia in a minute or two. And then if we get enough likes, let's see, if we get our 15 likes, we're going to spin the wheel, right? So let's do a quick check. Unfortunately, my tablet is not working all that well tonight, so I got to do everything on my cell phone. So we'll make that work. Let's see. Right now we are at 8 likes right now. All right, and we just a little bump up to 10. Okay, very nice. Well, we still need a couple of more likes to spin the wheel tonight, so we'll give it a few minutes. But it is 11 o'clock. It is that hour. It is that time when we play Jets Trivia. All right, guys. I think you all know how this works by now. We will ask you a Jets trivia question. I'm going to set the clock for 5 minutes and 5 minutes only, and we'll see how we do. Can we get the question correct? Last week, the chat did get stumped. So let's see how we do tonight. So let's go down here, and we are going to add our trivia slide to the stage. Your question tonight: name the 6 Jets who have scored multiple touchdowns in a single playoff game, and that excludes passing touchdowns. So this wouldn't count Vinny Testaverde throwing for 2 touchdowns or Kenny O'Brien scoring touchdowns. There we go. So I'm asking for 6 players tonight, guys. That's right. The pressure is going to be on. All right, so let's go over to the comments. I got to pull it up on my end. Harlan Abraham, where is Nick Shine? Nick is finishing up the other show, hopefully very, very soon. Yeah, I hope he comes over. Because I know he comes over, there'll be a few people coming with him. So I hope everybody's going to be over soon. But yeah, try to do the trivia pretty much right at 11 o'clock every week. That's kind of the goal. All right, let's see. Let's see what we have as far as. Oh, we got a floor right here. I know I put this down on the trivia slide. Yep. Okay, here we go. All right, so let's look at some answers. So we've got Eric Decker. Eric Decker is incorrect. Eric Decker never played a playoff game with the Jets. Randilla says Freeman McNeil. Freeman McNeil is correct. In 1986, he had 2 touchdowns in a playoff game. So we got Freeman correct. Well done by Randilla. Harlan Abraham says, Harlan, I don't know if you mean Le'Veon Bell or Jeremiah Bell or Buddy Bell or some other kind of a Bell. I'm going to turn the music down just a little bit. There we go. I think that's a little bit better. No, definitely not a Bell. Hank G says Wayne Corbett. Wayne Corbett is correct. He had 2 receiving touchdowns in a 2002 playoff game. I believe that was the one against the Colts. So we had 2 touchdowns that game. So Wayne Corbett is correct. Jets mess says Wesley Walker. So does Randilla. Sorry to tell you guys, Wesley Walker is incorrect. Hank G with a guess. He says Curtis Martin. Curtis Martin is correct. 1998, he had 2 rushing touchdowns in a single playoff game. All right, so we got Freeman McNeil, Wayne Corbett, and Curtis Martin. There are 3 more. Harlan Abraham is guessing Thomas Jones. That's a good guess. It is not correct, however. No, not correct in this case. Let's see. Just make sure. There we go. Let's keep going. I gotta loop the music. There we go. That's better. All right. Harlan Abraham was Sean Green. Nope, Sean Green had a game or 2, a playoff game or 2, where he scored a touchdown, but he never scored 2 in one game. All right, so we've got 3 so far, but we need 3 more. 3 more Jets who scored multiple touchdowns in a single playoff game. Randilla says Mickey Schuler. No, not Mickey Schuler. All right. Pretty good question, huh? Let's see, we're down to 1 minute and 30 seconds. Wow, that went pretty fast. Dun, 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 dun. All right, Mickey Schuler. So we got Freeman McNeil, Wayne Corbett, and Curtis Martin. Those are all correct answers. Let's see. What else we have? Hank G says Jericho Cotchery. No, Jericho did not do it. Sorry, Hank. Good try. Randilla says Lavernius Coles. Very good guess, but it didn't happen. No, Lavernius never caught 2 touchdown passes in a single playoff game for the Jets. I'll give you guys this hint. There are 2 running backs and there is 1 wide receiver. Let's see if that helps. And you'll know the players. Hank G says LaDainian Tomlinson. LaDainian Tomlinson is correct. Very good. That's right. LaDainian Tomlinson scored 2 touchdowns in 2011 in the wild card game against the Colts that I was blessed enough to be at. Let's see. Oh, the 5 minutes are just about out. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. That's 5 minutes, guys. All right. So it looks like we hit the time limit, but we'll keep going here. Randilla says Santana Moss. No, it was not Santana Moss. 2 players left. There's 1 running back and there's 1 wide receiver. Let's see. See, I'm not going to give this away with how I can give you a clue without giving it away. I did say a running back. I did say a wide receiver. I will tell you the running back was more recent than the wide receiver. How about that? All right, so the wide receiver was more in the past. Harlan Abraham says Matt Snell. No, wasn't Matt Snell. Matt Snell did not do it. Matt Snell did score the only Jets touchdown in Super Bowl III, but he didn't score 2 touchdowns in that game, nor against the Raiders, nor against the Chiefs the following year. 3 playoff games he did play. All right. I will say this, with Matt Snell, you're in the right area. Not too far off. Jets best mess with a new guest. He says Altoon. It is not Altoon, my friend. Altoon is not correct. Randella, there you go. Don Maynard, yes. One of the absolute greatest New York Jets of all time. Retired as the NFL's all-time leader in catches and passing yards when he retired. Amazing wide receiver. So Don Maynard is number 5. So to recap, of the 6 Jets, you got 5 of them. You got Freeman McNeil, Wayne Corbett, Curtis Martin, LaDainian Tomlinson, and Don Maynard. You have 1 more Jet left to go. 1 more Jet. Can you get who it is? Randella goes with Emerson Boozer, and that is incorrect. I'm sorry, Randella. It was a good try, but not quite. Not quite. But you're not, not quite right. Hey, Wild Wave, good to see you, man. Thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it. We are in the middle of trivia. We got 5 of the 6 Jets who scored multiple touchdowns in a single playoff game. We got 1 Jet left to get. Hank G, yep, it's a running back. I will say this is probably the toughest one. It's not, but it's not crazy. It's not a crazy answer. If you think about it, it's like, it'll make sense to you. So, y'all can get this. I got faith in you. All right. One more running back. Wow, wait, give the 5 that were correct? Yeah, no problem. All right, it was, hey, Randella. Nope, Hank G says Chris Ivory. Chris Ivory never got into the playoffs as a Jet. He came after the most recent playoff game. So the 5 that were correct that were guessed so far: Freeman McNeil, Wayne Corbett, Curtis Martin, LaDainian Tomlinson, and Don Maynard. There's one other running back who did it. One other running back. It is not Blair Thomas, just in case anybody's wondering. I didn't think this was, I know 6 names is a lot, but yeah, I had a feeling we'd knock this one out pretty quickly, but not yet, so close though. Wild Wave says Leon Washington. No, not Leon Washington. You didn't do it. How can I'm trying to think how I can narrow it down. He is not a starting running back. He's not a starter for the Jets. Randella says Bilal Powell. No, it's not Bilal Powell. Wild Wave, yep, good guess. Somebody already mentioned Thomas Jones. It was not TJ. Randella says Bruce Harper. I'm assuming you mean Bruce Harper? No, wasn't Bruce Harper. But think of backup running back. I think if I give you anything else, you're going to get it. He did start his career with the Jets, but moved on to a couple other teams. Injuries cut his career a little bit short. All right, if I had to get, all right, I'll try to narrow this down a little bit. Yeah, I want y'all to get this. You have to go back a little bit in Jets history, but you're talking about kind of the, how do I say this? Before the Rex era. So you have to go back before that.
but after the Walt Michaels era. So it's somewhere in that 90s, 2000s range. What's that? Hank G's throwing in the towel? I know somebody's going to get it. Somebody's going to get it tonight without looking it up. I know it. No, Randall, not a punt returner. No, there's no trickery here. No like weird answers, no tricks on this. Straightforward. It's a running back, not a starter, but pretty good running back. Somebody we know. If it's before 2005, I have no idea. It's before 2005, but not crazy before. All right, we got to narrow this down. All right. He left the Jets in free agency. He was with the Jets for 4 years, left in free agency, and stayed in the AFC. And the year he did it, that he scored the 2 touchdowns in a playoff game, was 2002. I want to say it had to be the Colts game. How about that? Yeah, he did it against the Colts. Randilla said Tony Richardson. That's a creative guess. That was a creative guess, but it wasn't T-Rich. So yeah, this would have happened in 2002. I'm giving you all the year. All right. Randilla says Byer. Ernest Byer? I think he went to the University of Maryland. And I know he still lives in that area. He doesn't live too far from this area. I think he still does some broadcasting. I want to say we're 34. I think. Dang, we're going on like 12 minutes on this one. Wow. All right, I'm going to give us, it's 11:13. I'm going to give us till 11:15. So I think that means I'm going to give it like one more minute. We'll give it one more minute, then I'm going to give you all the answer. So you got one more minute. Backup running back, 2002. Left the Jets as a free agent. Stayed in the AFC. Went to Maryland. Played 4 years with the Jets. And we got more and more people going into the chat. Yeah, are y'all getting like, what was the encyclopedia the jury would talk about? I forgot the name of it, but the Glenn Encyclopedia or something like that. We got to get like Curly Norman and Modine and those guys here. Yeah, we need Nick in here. Yeah, we need some help. We got to get this question. We got to get it. Randilla's, Leon Washington. Yep, Leon was guessed. It wasn't him. Yeah, I'm afraid it wasn't 29. Sorry to tell you. All right, guys. Do a quick check. Do a quick check on the likes. How are we doing with the likes tonight? Looks like we're at 10. Okay. All right. Need 15 to spin the wheel, so we're still about 5 likes away. So. All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and give you the answer. I feel like I've put you through enough already. All right. So it was Freeman McNeil, Wayne Corbett, Curtis Martin, LaDainian Tomlinson, Don Maynard, and Lamont Jordan in 2002. So that was the correct answer. Yeah. So unfortunately, we didn't pull this one out tonight, but yeah, Lamont Jordan did score 2 touchdowns for the Jets in a playoff game. So was that too challenging? I hate to ask, do y'all feel like that? I wonder if y'all are like, are you kicking yourselves, or was Lamont too hard to guess, or was that like one that is like, oh yeah, I should have thought of Lamont Jordan? But I guess, yeah, he's a name that's been kind of forgotten about. But dang, he was a good backup to Curtis Martin the time that he was here. He was pretty dang good. So, Yeah, Harlan. Everyone forgets about left out Lamont. Yeah, yeah, because then he went away, went over to the Raiders, had one really good season, and then the injuries started to pile up. He had like 1 year with the Patriots, and it was over for him. So it wasn't a very long run, but it was, you know, but the time that he had was good. All right, guys, I think we're going to call it a night for right now. One of those days when I got to get up early. Work is absolutely insane. Got about 150 students starting school on Monday, so it's orientation time and all that crazy stuff. But to let you know what's going on, I will be doing my picks for the divisional round. I plan on posting those Friday night. Went 3-3 last week, which is about what most people did. And hopefully we have a lot more exciting competitive games than we did last week. I will say this: I am hoping Detroit gets to the Super Bowl. I actually did pick Detroit at the beginning of the year to make the NFC Championship game. So on a whim, I thought that they would be able to do it, and I think they have a very, very good chance to do it. I really hope they will. And yeah, let's see what winds up happening. But as far as who I'm rooting for, I'm not going to say who I'm picking, but with who I'm rooting for, I I'm definitely rooting for Detroit, and I'm definitely rooting for San Francisco. I don't want to see the Packers go any further. I don't need any more. I'm already tired of the Jordan Love loving. I'm already tired of it, to be honest with you. So I'm hoping we see Detroit, San Francisco for the NFC Championship. The AFC probably want to see Kansas City win because to see Buffalo lose at home would be pretty good. But the other game, Baltimore, Houston, I got no ill will with either team, really. Whoever wins, wins. I just really like CJ Stroud, not just as a quarterback, but as a person. And I got to be honest, if I wasn't a Jets fan, I'd probably find myself rooting for the Ravens. I'd probably be a Ravens fan if the Jets didn't exist. That's just me shooting off the cuff. That's how I probably feel. So, yeah, either one of those teams, cool. So I think I just want Buffalo and I want Buffalo, Tampa Bay, especially Tampa Bay out. I don't need to see Todd Bowles coaching any more playoff games. Oh my gosh! So that's kind of what I'm feeling right now as far as my rooting interest goes. Hope you all enjoy football this weekend. Be sure to stay tuned to New York Sports WickerMedia. I'll be doing some stuff on Mets prospects coming out over the next couple weeks. We'll do some more Jets offseason preview. We'll talk about some specific free agents I'd like to see the Jets target to address some of the holes. I think maybe we'll get into that on the Wednesday show as well. Haven't decided yet, but I want to take a second and again thank all of you for joining me tonight, for joining me on the stream. If you're watching it back later, thank you as well. But I am so thrilled about it. The way this channel is growing, it's pretty fantastic. Hoping to get some guests on as well. And yeah, may the Bills remain Super Bowlless. Yes, and may Tampa Bay have a bowls but no Super Bowls. At least with him as head coach. All right, everybody. I want to thank everybody for joining me again tonight. You have a great rest of your night, great day, and I'll see you right back here with more content from you know where. The Wicker Chair. We'll see